What is going on, everybody? What a first game we had, Adam. It is Yanni. It is RareAdam. And Team Ishtar, a surprise victory on red side, no less, against the undefeated Team DPS. And this time around, Team Ishtar is going to be on the blue side. We already see some changes in the bans here. Team Ishtar's bans, they're the complete same. That said, Team DPS, they leave the Veigar on the table and they ban the Morgana. Death by video game, it was death by binding that game.
Yeah, and the only issue with that is you give over a free Jinx to Tygoon, and realistically, it was interesting to see that the Xayah was so prioritized over something like the Jinx, especially with the Rakan first pick, but Jinx is still your S tier 80 carry. She's still going to get excited. She's still going to provide a boatload of damage. Doesn't matter how many times you nerf that champion. If the state of the game is still how it is, you're going to need a good answer into that Jinx, and if you're picking for the lane here, Lucian is a pretty good option into that, especially with the classic Braum combo.
Yep, that is one of the strongest bot lane combinations. It's probably the second strongest behind Lucian Nami, if you're taking Lucian down there, obviously. And Team Ishtar, they're going to need to find something in the support role that's going to be able to deal with this and protect Jinx well enough. And you do have a lot of options, but you're going to sacrifice a whole lot there. A Soraka is pretty good to keep her alive, but if you're going to go with a Soraka, you're going to sort of sacrifice tankiness, hard CC. They will opt in to the Leona, so the bot lanes are selected. These are 80 carries that can deal a heck of a lot of damage, and these are tanks that can put down a lot of CC.
Yeah, and of course, it's an interesting combination to put the Jinx with the Leona because technically, yes, you can root into root, but it's not as reliable of a combo as Lucian Braum. And in a lot of ways, Leona can struggle into Braum because the Braum has a lot more peel potential than Leona does. So while Braum can kind of do the best of both worlds, engage and disengage, Leona's really just about engaging, and her peel is going back and dying for her team a lot of the time.
Team Ishtar this time around will go with the gank in a can, known as Volibear. Team DPS, the Trundle will be the pick here for Talus. So turnabout is fair play, and Trundle has two fairly good targets for that subjugate.
I mean, the main one that I'm looking at is Leona. She presses W in a fight, and Trundle's like, thank you very much. And then Leona loses her W, and she is squishy as anything. It's one of those like auto Trundle picks sometimes when you see a Leona on the enemy team because they just give themselves flat stats in the same vein as anyone who takes Aftershock, and a lot of the times Leonas will do both. Be Leona and take Aftershock. I mean, it's kind of hard for Leona not to be Leona.
All supports know how to do it nowadays is be Leona and take Aftershock.
Yeah.
Second round of bans here for Team DPS. They're going to get rid of the Malphite. They're going to get rid of the Corki. It was a bit of a pain last time around, so Quegger, they're going to help out the boy up there, and Alice Kander, who had no problem laning against the Corki. I think that's a ban mostly for the rest of the team. On the other side, Team Ishtar, they're going to get rid of Ornn, they're going to get rid of Karma, so their draft strategy was literally the exact same, and who can blame you when it comes to the bans at least, because it worked out pretty well for them, but this team composition so far feels like it's going to do a lot of different things compared to the last one.
Yeah, and the Quaggart special going to come through now, playing one of those tanks in the top lane. Cho'Gath is one of those ones that Quaggart, I believe it was against MG Element, where they went Cho'Gath Ornn back and forth between him and Guipo, and he won both sides of the matchup. And that's sort of where the legend of the Bungus Quaggart was born, right? So,
like the legend of the Bungus.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, this is going to be just the super safe top laner here, and it opens up so many options for Alice Gander in the mid lane. They can play AD, they can play AP if they so desire, with, Quaggart going Everfrost maybe. You have a lot more agency in your draft now where Alice Gander can just get the pick of the litter, and whatever Face of the Wind picks, I'm assuming it's going to be something relatively safe, maybe the Victor. We might see some spice come into it because Alice Gander's Rakan mid was played into Victor both times.
What an excellent pick, real quick. I want to point out this set. Into a Trundle, a Braum, and a Cho'Gath. The damage that is going to happen when Set inevitably tosses a Cho'Gath casually into 5 members of Team DPS is going to be massive. Team Ishtar, as you suspected, will round out their composition with a Victor. Silas the Hover here could be an interesting choice. Couple of decent ultimates to choose from. Silas with the Volibear ultimate is very scary. Silas with the Leona ultimate, heck, even with a Victor ultimate is pretty okay. And they will lock in the Silas.
It's an interesting answer into the Victor specifically because Silas actually can win that lane before level 6. It's usually after the first or second upgrade comes through that it becomes a little bit more challenging for the Silas to really exist. But it's there's some okay alts, I want to say. I don't want to say they're magnificent. There's no Malphite ultimate or anything to speak of. They're good enough. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, you're okay with it. You know, I'm sure there are other things that you could have been like, oh, you know what, maybe I'll, maybe we'll pick this here instead. But this seems pretty fine. I mean, you could have always gone with a Leandry's mid laner, would have been pretty solid to chew through some of that raw HP. But otherwise, I think this is fairly fine.
Yeah, it's safe. I think that's what it is, and very rarely will you say Silas is a safe pick in that sense, but it's safe enough to the point where Alistander can roam around the map. They can still have a lot of impact just with Silas's kit as it is without stealing an ultimate, and then you can toss on top of that some various different skills. I mean, if you're stealing a Leona ultimate, that has a decent AP ratio, but it's big crowd control. Jinx ultimate getting stolen away is always scary because there's that execution potential now that you've got on Alistander. And face them when stealing away a Chaos Storm, we know that they know how to play the Victor. They know exactly when to place that down on top of someone as well. So there's some good ultimates to steal. As you mentioned, Set Volibear, self-explanatory for dive. Really curious to see how Alistander plays this lane out, because they played the lane really well last game, and then the mid-game, late game, they started getting focused a little bit too much. I want to see if they can replicate that laning phase and transition that into a snowball.
Yeah, and on a Silas, that is a champion that you would want to, snowball very, very hard with, and that's something that you can certainly do, and you are going to get poked out by this Victor a lot. One underrated ultimate, actually, would be Silas taking Set ultimate and then gently tossing a Volibear into the rest of this team.
Yes, I mean,
or Leona.
And what's also fun is if Silas steals the Set ultimate and ults Volibear when Volibear is ulting, and then everyone is jumping and Silas ults no one but still gets the damage, and then we break our brains.
Jump, jump, jump around, jump, jump.
If that happens, listen, I called the nukes Yumi last night. If Silas ults or Set ults and ulting Volibear, do I get like a crown or something? Like, can someone mail me a crown?
I mean, you got Burger King up there, right?
True. I'll go to Burger King and I'll take a picture for the squad.
Picture for the squad. Yeah, listen, man. Whatever you want to do, you can have it your way.
Yes.
So, looking at these team compositions, who won the draft? I think these are both excellent compositions for what they want to do. I'd be happy with either of these teams. I'm kind of leaning toward Team Ishtar a little bit, though. But maybe that's because it's a little bit more meta-centric.
Yeah, I think that Team Ishtar, though, they've got themselves a very straightforward team comp where they've got two carries. They've got Victor and Jinx as their main damage dealers. Everyone else is just sort of buying space or buying time for them. Not to say that, Set and Volibear don't do damage, but, the main role of Victor and Jinx is just to be those massive carries. Whereas on the flip side, you've got a little bit more nuance. The Trundle can end up doing a decent amount of damage and can technically be a carry in its own right, sort of the anti-carry in that sense. Cho'Gath, we've seen Pirate carry on this champion, just straight up carry the entire game, and Your Bad Connection, Alistander, I'm really focused on them because I think specifically Your Bad Connection had just an okay game last game. They really need to step up against Tygoon here because Tygoon was fantastic in that last game, got a lot of kills on that Caitlyn, and I think you just have to take a step back a little bit here as DPS, sort of get the nerves out, just try and play for your 7-0 season in a lot of ways, and just kind of right the ship here because this is not the time that you want to be having some mishaps in your games.
You do not want to take a loss into playoffs. You do not want to plant the seed of doubt right before the playoffs begin. 2 minutes left in the spectator delay, so we are going to split out for a couple of minutes. We're going to cut it to a short break. When we return, it'll be game 2 between these two teams, DPS and Team Ishtar. Team Ishtar looking to spoil the perfect season. Da, da,
Ba, ba, ba.
da, 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 da.
Bum, bum, bum.
30 seconds until
All right, we are here. It is game 2 between Team Ishtar and Team DPS. It is Yanni and RareAdam still on the sticks here, and it could be Tygoon in a whole lot of trouble. This is a very angry team. The ward is down. The slow is there. You're gonna have to flash this one, Tygoon. You're gonna flash the Cho'Gath knockup. So you hear the pings. I'm not sure if you heard it, but I heard it. They pinged out that flash immediately about
Yes.
6 times. So this Lucian Braum lane with a slight advantage early on.
Honestly, well played there from Brian to just toss that in there. And Tygoon, you've got to respect that Braum there. I think you just place the ward, you back off, and yes, you're using your ward for that, but sometimes it's just worth it to save your flash, especially in a lane that can be as aggressive as Lucian Braum.
Yeah, Leona doesn't really do the greatest job of protection. She goes in, but she has a hard time getting back on top of you if there's a problem. I'm going to sweep out the wards so they do know where the Volibear is starting. Both junglers starting on the bot side of the map, and the matchup that everybody is waiting for. It's Aliskander versus Face to the Wind.
Yeah, and this time around, Aliskander going to be playing into the Victor. Had a great performance on the Victor. And I mean, that's one of their best champions this season anyways. So, I mean, wasn't surprised to see that picked up. But the Silas pickup here, I want to see what it can accomplish. Because Face of the Wind this time taking the first strike on the Victor will end up getting a little bit more poke damage and easier to stack up in this early game compared to last game where Corki wasn't really able to stack it up too efficiently. But Aliskander just has so much all-in potential, and that Kingslayer heal can just be so pesky to deal with.
Dude, I hate that ability. It's so dumb.
Oh my!
Look at all the damage that Aliskander is pumping out. Forces a flash out of Face to the Wind, and that's not a great way to start the game because now you start playing a little scared. That'll certainly wake you up.
Yeah, we'll definitely sort of put a little bit of a fire under your butt there and say, wow, that was a level 2 all-in. What happens at level 3 when he gets that little execute damage with the Kingslayer? It is worrisome here for Face to the Wind, and I think both of these junglers are going to turn their eyes towards this mid lane very soon, especially considering there's a flash down already on Face to the Wind.
Lots of options here, but the junglers are both in the top lane as we see Talus finding his way in. Uh-oh, there's a big bear. Double knockup, though. Talus able to flash out. However, Druben pulling him back. Lots of true damage. First blood for Voperdo. Some things never change. Voperdo and making plays name a more iconic duo.
My goodness, the double flash forward to make that happen. And we were talking about how the mid lane could be the focal point, but Druben just setting it up so well. And Quaggart, despite the double rupture, Talus was just a little bit too far up. And I think that the Trundle Pillar being used early there ended up costing their life, because I think that if you can buy a little bit of space there with the Trundle Pillar, you could be able to survive. But a great Winter's Bite.
Exhaust down onto Your Bad Connection. The Ignite is on Tygoon. Gonna drop down the Chompers. Your Bad Connection walked right into them. So Tygoon and Death by Video Game will be left off the hook. Lots of return damage here onto Brian, who's getting very low. Here's an engagement, a dash from Your Bad Connection. The Ignite down onto the Braum. The Braum has fallen. Your Bad Connection kind of between a rock and a hard place. But Talus is here, will show, and let them know that, hey, I'm in the area. You better not engage on my buddy.
Yeah, this is really shocking almost here from DPS that they just don't seem to be on the same page. At least this bot lane here, Brian just gets engaged on there, and instead of Your Bad Connection trying to make it a 1-for-1, goes for the Jinx instead, who is way far off and not guaranteed, whereas there was a Leona who is, you know, in melee range of your Braum, who is behind you. That's a lot of distance that you've got to make up if you're that Jinx. So interesting play. Vaperto going to help shove in the wave as well. So Your Bad Connection and Brian, they haven't really been able to make the 2v2s work out in their favor, and that's kind of scary.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Aliskander just eviscerates Face to the Wind in the mid lane, and Team DPS finally gets kill number 1 on the board.
Yeah, Aliskander finds a way. While everyone else may be having a little bit of synergy troubles, Aliskander can just do that 1v1 any single time, and yeah, that was out of nowhere almost.
The pop-off potential that this guy has is Face to the Wind teleports back, is going to interrupt the back, but the pop-off potential of Aliskander cannot be understated as he's looking for more. He's going for this engagement. He's going to drop the Chaos Storm down. It's not going to deal that much damage so far. Aliskander getting pretty low. Face to the Wind forced off. And the wave is just on Aliskander's side of the lane. He really doesn't have to be in a hurry to really clear this either. Voperdo definitely wants to come in and try to potentially break this. And here comes an engagement. Talus is in the area as well. Aliskander forced to flash.
Yeah, unfortunate flash necessary there from Aliskander. Doesn't have that ultimate to steal either. I mean, if Vaperto had showed up a couple seconds earlier there and Aliskander still had that ultimate, maybe you steal the Volibear ultimate, but of course, used that earlier and now forced to burn that flash. But overall, Ishtar is still putting the pressure on. They've got a 700 gold lead for themselves. This top lane is going to be rough for Quaggart regardless, just because of what Set will do in terms of damage. Yeah, here we go.
Yep. There's the engagement onto Quaggart. Druben getting lower and lower, but he is stacking up that grit, baby. He's ready to punch! 208 true damage. Still does not manage to find a kill onto Quaggart, and Quaggart will be hitting level 6 on this wave. Will be sustaining a lot from the wave as well, but it doesn't look like Druben's going to stay around. Dragon is going to be taken for Team Ishtar, and Voperdo has played a masterful series so far.
All that I can think of now about Team Ishtar is just how difficult it's going to be to get those playoff or those pre-playoff rankings by In Defiance. You know, the power rankings. I don't know where you put Ishtar, because if Ishtar take down DPS, then like
they don't even necessarily need to win. It's just the fact that we're playing so well against them. Aliskander dashes away. Voperdo in hot pursuit. Talus with the pillar. Everybody's okay.
Like realistically, there's no world where DPS still isn't your #1 team, but it's challenging because especially since you're going to get a lot of games potentially out of the likes of the lower half of the league in next week's games for the gauntlet. You gotta try and get a pulse on Team Ishtar, who have had some really rough weeks, but also some really good weeks. Oh my goodness.
He dashed out of the arm time. Brian could be in a little bit of trouble, but trading back and forth. All things pretty even down there. Volperdo level 6 now, kind of waiting in the wings, and you see the sweeper popped, looking to clear the way for the big bear.
Yeah, no, honestly, this Volibear pick from Volperdo doing exactly up to spec. Talus not really been able to find the same level of impact as Volperdo did on the Trundle. Granted, Volperdo on the Trundle last game gave up first blood on the Trundle, and same thing happened to Talus here. Maybe Talus can just turn this around on a knife's edge and might be looking for the bot lane play.
Here they come. The pillar is out. Tygoon has to flash. Here comes the chompers. It's a nice double root there. Here's Volperdo. Flash forward. Exhaust. Volperdo going deep for this one. They're so low. Volperdo picks up one. Jinx picks up the other. Talus trying to sustain himself on the bear. The flash is out, but the Jinx is just machine gunning the troll down. The zap whiffs, but the rocket will be able to do it. Super Mega Death Rocket. 3 for nothing in the bot lane. Hell of a counter gank by Volperdo. And this one is starting to look like it's Team Ishtar's game to lose.
Ishtar just on another level thus far. Insane at this point just to see how well they've been playing together and how much they're pushing forward their advantages. And I'm concerned for DPS at this point because they just look like they're all out of sorts somewhat. I mean, Quaggart on the top side doing what Quaggart does and building a CS lead in a matchup they have no right to be doing so. And I think in a lot of ways this Cho'Gath has to start to get some stacks going for them, maybe even a solo kill to maybe turn the tides of how this game overall is going.
You certainly need to do something because you can see Alice Kander is trying very hard to make something happen in the mid lane and may pay for it. Does have the Leona ultimate available, so they do have disengage in their back pocket. They're getting very low. The engage is down, and like I just said, pressing a little bit too hard now, knowing that their team is behind. That is another kill going over to the side of Ishtar. This time it's Leona who claims it.
Yeah, Leona getting the kill, not the best case scenario. I mean, you would have preferred that on Face of the Wind, but still, it's just more gold going the opposite way. You lose the wave. It goes to Talus there, who, granted, will happily clean that up to get some sort of semblance back into this game, but it's just been a really rough go of things for the side of DPS, and I still have faith in them to be able to make this game competitive at the slightest, but it's still going to be quite the uphill road.
So my question to you is, as you know, I work for an online casino and sports.
Okay.
What do you think the odds would have been today, right? If there was a bet that was the winless team to win and the undefeated team to lose.
Honestly, considering Ishtar's sort of their track record, I'm trying to remember how like the over
so this isn't an over under. This would just be an odds based bet. So for example, a 10-to-1 bet, right? If you bet $10 on a bet that's 10-to-1 and it hits, you win $100. You win 10 times your bet, right? So now knowing that and how it works for other things, obviously 7-to-1 is, you win 7 times your bet. As we see a lot of brawling going on and a potential dive here in the bot lane. What do you think the odds would have been on that? I'm thinking this would have been like a 15-to-1, or maybe even like a 20-to-1.
I wouldn't say it was a 15-to-1 or a 20-to-1. I would say I'm gonna get fancy with it, but we'll go after this play.
No, I mean, listen, man, we could just talk through it. Everybody's okay. Thought anybody was dying there? I mean, I certainly did. But realistically, if we missed it, it would have been okay.
Yeah, I think it's like 9-to-2 odds, actually, that
what? Really?
Ishtar were going to win, only based on the fact that they've taken down a lot of teams above them.
Ooh, okay. Face to the wind, getting a kill on Alice Kander. Quaggart, long have we awaited. Quaggart now activated, gets a kill.
Yeah.
But the Rift Ellie getting dropped in the mid lane here. They pick up the gold. Yeah, he's pinging them.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude's got to pick up the gold. The dragon is being foregone here. There'll be one plate, and there'll be a couple of other plates here as Face to the Wind is trying to find a way to get out, and they will. The slow from Voperdo too strong, and I mean, Team Ishtar has shown up big time so far.
Yeah, and I guess I can explain my odds a little bit more. Like, they are underdogs. That's for sure.
For them, it's for both. It's for both. So this is a combined bet, a parlay.
A parlay. Oh my goodness.
For Ishtar, for the undefeated team to lose and the winless team to win. Like, the odds on that, ridiculous, right? Because it's two outcomes.
We're doing a parlay on DPS losing, that's the 9-2. I think
DPS losing and
predictive nemesis winning, that's like a 20-1 in my books. I did not expect that to happen.
So this means it would have to be like 30-1 odds for this outcome to happen.
I think I can calculate this out, can I? It would be...
There's a bet slip calculator that I use for work every day. You can just Google it. And it shows up.
I'm gonna look it up. I think it's like 90-1 of the overall thing happening. Let me figure this out.
90-1, jeez.
Yeah, I think so.
Math?
I think that's what it is. I'm gonna calculate it out if I'm calculating everything. Oh boy.
Uh-oh. Told you he was gonna take the set ultimate at some point. Alice Cantor trying to survive, but there's just no damage from Brian, and anything you can do, I can do better, except Set actually is the one to die. However, the cavalry has arrived. There's one kill, face to the wind, trying to kite it out, and he will be able to, as Talus is stunned for far too long. Another kill over to Voperdo. He's got 2. The Super Mega Death Rocket is now up. They're gonna fire it. Do it. Do it. Fire. Fire. No. Lame. 9 kills to 3. Team Ishtar is continuing to run the game. The gold lead is still not insurmountable yet, but we are at the 14-minute mark, and it is around 2,500.
All I know is that I don't understand what these American odds are. Like, what's this plus 100 deal?
Yeah, so plus 100 means that for every $100 you bet, you would win $100. So it's even money.
Okay, so then this is... I need to try and calculate. That would be plus...
So the minus means you would have to bet that much to get $100. The plus means you get that much if you bet $100.
Okay. I'm spending a decent amount.
I mean, listen, it's an interesting thought. Like, it's not just, to go and, have the little betting game go on like we did early on in the season, but it's just to think that something that was such a far-fetched outcome could possibly happen tonight, and at this point is looking quite likely.
If I've done my calculations correctly, it is about, if I put 20-1 odds on predictive gaming winning, which is 5%, and 9-2 odds on Ishtar winning, which is
it would be
4.5 to 1 basically, which is about 22%. Yeah, that's like 2.5%. That's 1 in 40. There we go.
Jeez, yeah. You know what? That sounds pretty good.
It's close enough. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's certainly a house special that you would see. We see Talus up in the top lane trying to find a kill on Druben. Druben gonna use that ultimate. Mid lane turret is going down. Here's the engagement from the Leona. Ooh. They're gonna stun up Alice Cantor. The Kobe isn't doing a whole lot, but the dash in front of Voperdo. Tygoon has to flash away. Voperdo now taking a lot of damage, is on the wrong side of the tracks. He's gonna try to kite it down to this Victor. Super Mega Death Rocket lands onto the Braum. They're A-okay. Your bad connection is low, and Alice Cantor managed to survive that fight. Interesting here is Team DPS trying to pull back in the kill department. Tygoon in a 4v1. Tygoon is dead. Shut down going over to the Lucian. Here comes the teleport right on top of Face of the Wind. Face of the Wind has to flash. And now Team DPS, they must have heard us talking, because they are now coming alive finally.
They're coming to collect their parlays. That's what they're doing, because it's... It's finally a fight that works on their terms, and Oh boy, we don't want to get on that road there, but Aliskander stealing away the Leona ult, doing a great job of getting the lockdown onto Tygoon Death by Video Game there to set up for a kill for themselves, and then Your Bad Connection able to pick up the shutdown onto Tygoon. It's massive because this Lucian going for the Kraken Slayer, going for as much damage as possible, basically saying, I trust my Braum, and I trust my Trundle, and I trust my Cho'Gath to keep me as safe as possible, going for as much damage as possible, whereas Jinx says, I don't know if Leona's going to keep me alive for as long as I need to. I'm going to get the Gale Force to stay safe, thus meaning Lucian will end up doing more damage.
This is true, but Lucian has much less range and could find it a little bit harder to take down some of these priority targets like the Victor, like the Jinx. Here comes the teleport in from the set on the side. Your Bad Connection spots this one out, and we could see some fireworks out here shortly. Aliskander has access to the Victor ult. He's taking a lot of poke, and the Dragon has been started and is starting to beat down on the side of Team DPS. They are going for it. Aliskander trying to get an angle. They play video game, trying to find a way in. They try to go in on Aliskander, but whiff. Dragon getting lower, about 2,500, and here comes the engagement. There's a big knockup. The stolen Infernal Drake. Drubin pulls Quaggart over the wall. Tygoon's going to pick up Talus. Brian's going to die. Aliskander in the middle of 4. They need to start taking him down very soon. They stun him, and they do take him down with only 1 casualty. It's a double kill for Tygoon, even though Tygoon falls themselves. A 3v2 right now. It does look like Quaggart will find a way out. A huge Dragon steal there by Voperdo, and Team Ishtar edges out a fight win.
Yeah, it's well played from the side of Ishtar once again to sort of get their footing back after a little bit of a rough skirmish around that mid lane. And I think a big factor behind them winning that fight is the summoner. A lot of summoners were burned by the side of DPS to pick up those couple of shutdowns onto the Leona and onto the Jinx in the last fight. They didn't have them available. On the flip side, there was enough summoners to sort of stay alive and stay relevant in that fight, and the ultimates coming through just from the side of Ishtar were pretty massive, and the steal as well, just the cherry on top for Voperdo.
And that Infernal Drake is the first Infernal Drake of the game. Infernal Soul, of course, as you can see on the map. So getting a little bit extra spice on their damage at this point in the game is pretty nice. It can really... It's those incremental advantages that could really turn the tide.
Yeah, and it's any sort of advantages that you're able to get in this game. And Aliskander, you know, down almost a full item here against Face of the Wind. Face of the Wind sort of having a bounce back performance. And, you know, this Victor has just been a power pick here. It's going to be something that for both of these teams, if you're playing up against them in playoffs, you've got to be considerate of, because Victor still very strong in the right hands.
It's a well-executed comp, but Face to the Wind could be in a lot of trouble. Your Bad Connection very low. Your Bad Connection's going to die, and so's the Trundle. It's 2 kills for the Victor. Brian is not long for this world. Jinx is going to get excited. Quaggart's been pulled in. The teams are going to split off now. Quaggart being chased down. Voperdo and Drubin, the double knockup. They'll be able to get away. A 3-0 for Team Ishtar. They are pinging the Baron. Face to the Wind does have teleport available for this. The Baron has spawned, and the Rift Herald was also picked up by them, so pretty nice stuff. We do see Quaggart and Aliskander. They're going to try to interrupt this. Remember, Cho'Gath Feast does a lot.
Cho'Gath Feast is basically the biggest smite in the game, but they might just kill him first.
Here we go. Aliskander trying to get onto the backline. Aliskander gets hit up against the wall. He stole the ultimate from the Volibear there, but it was such a sick Gale Force out of Tygoon. He's going to slay Aliskander. Now Talus is joining the party. Talus is going to be spotted out. Does not have any way to get over the wall aside from Flash. I wonder how desperate they truly are to get this Baron. Talus is ready. Voperdo ready on the smite. He's trying to clear out the wards. Wards are going to get cleared. Vision denied. Down to about 3,000. The poke is coming out. Talus is getting lower. 1,500. They're going to stun Talus. They're going to CC lock Talus. Beautifully done by Team Ishtar. Brian is going to die as well. And the entirety of Team DPS is just going in one by one and falling to pieces. 7 straight kills for Team Ishtar. They take the Baron. They take the Rift Herald. They take the Dragon. And man, Adam, they are so close to taking this series.
Yeah, and at the end of that, Drubin just gets like, I don't know, 7 wards for their trouble there. There's so many over that wall, but really well played from Team Ishtar. And Talus has just not really been able to get their feet off the ground in a lot of ways. It's been a rough go of things. And even for Brian, they've tried their best to try and find some engages, and a couple of fights went their way, but it's just not working out. Quaggart going down there, the only real chance at stealing that away, and they're so beefy at this stage. They just had set tank up that Baron for so long, just eating all that damage, making sure that they do it as properly as possible. There's no chance of a steal, and it worked out in the spades in this gold lead. The biggest one we've seen all series here at 7,000 gold.
The best team in the league has looked mortal. Let's see what they're made of. Tygoon has to flash to reposition, is beating on the front line, but here comes an Alistander from behind. It's a great Gale Force. They turn onto Alistander. Alistander can't find the kill. 3 kills for the Jinx. They're on top of Quaggart. Quaggart, you may have a lot of HP, but Jinx got a lot of bullets. A quadra kill for Tygoon. A clean ace for Team Ishtar. We might get Dancing Shelly this game, buddy.
Yeah, it could happen. I mean, Rift Herald is not going to be popped quite yet. There's still another minute on Rift Herald if they want to do so. Looks like he's just going to go over towards that Infernal Dragon instead. But, like, Tygoon is excited. They can just keep pushing. And 10, 2, and 7 here. Going from the top lane to the bot lane here might just be the move forever, because it's been incredible gameplay out of Team Ishtar. They're looking so good here. And if they win this series, they get into 4th seed. It's gonna mean good for like anyone else who's in the gauntlet, because they don't have to play Team Ishtar until they're the final boss. But if you're DPS, you don't want to fight Team Ishtar anymore.
And you know, I have to give so much credit to Tygoon there. In a really bad spot, turned Chicken Ishtar into chicken salad by flashing over the pillar, putting the rest of the team in front of them, beating down on the front line of DPS. And when Alistander came in from behind and went to hit him with an Everfrost, a perfectly timed Gale Force did enough damage on the front line to allow the rest of Team Ishtar to turn, and then Alistander could not do anything with 4 enemies in his face.
Yeah, and I think that
was such a well-played fight.
Incredibly well-played fight, and I think that with the next couple of minutes are really going to be the decider if DPS can even like light a candle to the wind at this point, because it's just been an all-out pummeling coming through from the side. Oh,
Tygoon in trouble. Tygoon gets blown up. Face to the window does so much damage. Alistander CC'd. Alistander dead. Brian is dead. Your bad connection is ignited and being chased down. Victor swag flash. 8 kills from face to the wind. You killed the Jinx, but you lost 3 members.
Yeah, this is a crazy series overall. It's been so entertaining the entire time. You know, I'm losing words at this point with how well that both of these, how well DPS played in game 1, and now just how well Ishtar have played in both games, and how well they are looking going into playoffs. And it's just been a day of upsets overall.
This is a huge landmark victory for Team Ishtar, a team lower, maybe middle-ish of the pack, with a stamen victory here could vault themselves into the upper echelon of contention. A victory here, Adam, does it make them a title contender?
It could potentially make them a dark horse, because if you're MG Element, you're looking at this team and you're like, I don't really want to play them either, because if I remember correctly, Team Ishtar also beat MG Element. They've had a wild season, for sure, and Ishtar are definitely looking like one of those teams that you can't really get a read on until playoffs, and you know the season's not over until it's over, and I'm so curious to see how this plays out.
They're taking a 5v4. Big silence of that Victor ultimate does so much damage. Everybody has to run away. Alistander can't find a way into the fight anymore. That was a 4v5, and they sent DPS pack into the base.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough. I mean, actually, I'm looking at them now, and Team Ishtar got 2-0'd by Spectre Gaming. They lost to WC Rams. They beat Barber's Fan Club. They beat MG Element. If they beat DPS as well, the only team that they haven't beat out of the top 4 would be, or the top 3 would be Spectre Gaming, who they can't face until finals, if anything. So Really curious to see how this goes out. Oh my goodness, big fight.
Here we go, big dive, huge ultimates going down. Look at all the damage. Drubin finds one. Violet Bear gets another. Alice Kander may have gone golden, but you don't have anything left to give. There's another kill. Brian the last one standing. Brian the last one falling. Double kill for Face to the Wind. Capitalize that off with an ace. 5 for 1 in favor of Team Ishtar. Team Ishtar, they are moving on up in the world. Team DPS, they will taste defeat for the first time this season, just before playoffs. A crack in the armor, and the entire Black Twitch League better take notice. It is anybody's league to win.
What a series of games today. I mean, both games going exactly the opposite of what we were expecting. Team Ishtar just incredible performance, and this shows why, you know, they were past season finalists as well, and, you know, a couple of roster changes took them a couple weeks to get their legs under them, and just since then they've been on a roll and now going to be finishing as the 4th seed. They are the final boss of the gauntlet, whereas for a DPS, you know, showing that they can bleed, they can shed blood in this league, and comes at the hands of Team Ishtar and their sword.
That is absolutely amazing. Team Ishtar deserves all the credit in the world. They played such a damn good series. They drafted such solid compositions, and this is a team that, I mean, we're going to call it like it is. I have not been here for many, many weeks. I missed a month of Black Twitch League action, a full month. And this team, just taking a look at the standings, I'm like, wow, all right, these will be 2 pretty quick 2-0s tonight. Well, I didn't anticipate the 2-0 was going to be in favor of Team Ishtar, because Team DPS looked so far and away like the better team, but they are going to taste defeat, and that has to be such a confidence booster for Team Ishtar going into the gauntlet.
Yeah, I think that the gauntlet is going to be an absolute treat to watch, and across, you know, both days we're going to see if Predictive Gaming or WCU can make a miracle run through every single team akin to what Maria's Dungeon did last season, or if on the flip side we just get the final boss moving on in Team Ishtar and potentially taking over in the second weekend. So a lot of storylines to speak of. I'm sure that Indefiance is going to have an absolute ball looking at these power rankings and trying to figure out who goes where, because at this point this season is anyone's for the taking.
That was absolutely ridiculous, and let me tell you, if Team Ishtar drafts like that, they drafted 2 strong, different compositions. That just goes to show how much a draft can do for a team.
Yeah, I think that the drafts overall were incredible from both sides. I mean, we talked about giving over the Jinx first pick and what it can do, and Tygoon just takes that champion and runs a mile with it, basically. And I think that Ishtar are dark horses at this point. Like, you have to put them into consideration. I would put them as my favorites to carry the gauntlet. Granted, they only have to play 1 best of 3 to qualify for the top bracket there, and even then, neither of the top 2 teams want to play against Team Ishtar. I think it's going to be DPS picking Spectre and Ishtar matching up against MG Element, where even MG Element, they've shown their blood in the last couple of weeks, and they've lost a couple of games that looked winnable. So I'm curious to see how this plays out.
This will be a crazy, crazy gauntlet, I am sure. So many, I mean, there are going to be so many playoff games, so many great games, and I am super excited to watch that unfold, because I tell you, Predictive Gaming, you know, you put a little feather in their cap, all of a sudden they're feeling pretty good, and, you know, it's just crazy. The best team in the league might have lost some confidence, and the worst team in the league may have just gained a lot of confidence. And realistically speaking, I actually don't know who is going to come out of this playoffs now. I thought it was going to be Team DPS, but maybe they won't be the winners after all. We're going to have to see how this affects them mentally.
And I think that realistically, they're still the favorites. I mean, they had a great season for every single week except for 1 game against Trebuchet in week 2 and this series tonight. Other than that, they've had a spotless record. They've taken down MG Element. They've taken down Barbara's Fan Club. They've had a really hard second half of the split. They've been playing up against basically all the other top teams in that period. So they've been able to stand by their record in a lot of ways. So curious to see if DPS are going to be able to sort of rejuvenate themselves and get themselves back into the swing of things, or if it will just end up sort of fizzling out. Who knows? DPS, maybe they've sort of run out of steam. Who knows?
Well, it looks like we do have a couple of interviews lined up. We do. We have RareAdam joining us along with Face to the Wind. Congratulations, the mid jungle duo for Team Ishtar coming up huge tonight. Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you. It was a good game, yeah.
It was a Super 6 series to watch. I do have a couple of questions. Who does your drafts? Because your drafts were really strong.
So Connor usually, or Vaporta usually does it, but we all kind of usually just pitch in and say our ideas, and then we just go with whatever works.
Yeah, this is some of the best drafting that I've seen out of a lot of the leagues that I've casted. So I was actually just very, very impressed. I thought it was super sick. Voperto, I do have a question for you. So I noticed that Trundle is starting to gain some more popularity at higher levels of play. It's been picked in, LCS, LCK a couple of times, only a handful. But at this level of play, it gets picked a lot, and it usually pops off when it does. What do you think makes Trundle so strong at this particular level of play?
He's just super simple to play, and he counters, tanks. So that's what a lot of these really bad junglers like to pick. We banned the Zac, we banned the Amumu, so he couldn't get those super easy champs, but it's really easy. You just one-shot them as well.
Yeah, it certainly looked like it, dude. Taking
Feels so nice.
Crime on top of him.
And now that you've sort of locked yourself into 4th place, now you've only got to play one best of 3 next week, and I guess just looking at the rest of the league, who are you expecting to face in sort of the gauntlet finals there to see who books their ticket to semifinals? And I'll pull up the teams as the options as well, just in case. It's either going to be Trebuchet, Barber's Fan Club, WCU Rams, or Predictive Gaming. Who are you expecting to come through?
Probably Trebuchet. They like to do
same.
team fight comps, and that usually does pretty well in BTL. Yeah, they've been looking kind of solid too. So.
Okay.
So I have a question directed toward Face to the Wind. So I had said earlier in the broadcast that I thought that one of the best mid laners in the league easily had to be Alice Campbell.
Right.
I did think that first game was a little tough on you. That being said, do you think you cemented yourself as one of the top mid laners, if not the top mid laner in this league, by dethroning him this series and realistically putting a smackdown on him here in game 2?
Yeah, actually. So I was kind of nervous going into the game, but after game 1, I was like, wait, this guy. I was expecting a little bit more, not just from their mid laner, but just from their team in general. So yeah, I think so. I think if this is the best team in the league, I think that it's just gonna be it's just gonna be a steamroll for every other team. So yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to ask. My next question was, after defeating them, do you guys feel like you're the team to beat going into this goal?
Definitely. I think.
Yeah, I mean we do, but everyone does at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Every team thinks they're the
Everyone's
best.
got an ego, so yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Everybody might think that highly of themselves, but listen, many people have talked the talk, but you are the only team to walk the walk so far and take down the Titans known as Team DPS.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a good game.
Yeah,
it's a good series.
Fun to watch. It was very, very fun to watch. It was an absolute treat. Everybody played really well. Send my regards over to Tygoon, who had a really rough assignment trying to get away from Alice Kander.
Yeah.
And did an excellent job. As an AD carry player myself, I was like, oh man, this guy's gas, bro.
Yeah.
Adam, you got any more questions for these fellas?
That's basically it. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations on your
Thank
victory.
you.
Best of luck in the playoffs. Good luck with the preparation. Actually, I do have one question. What's the typical preparation look like, especially for a game like tonight? What did you guys do earlier in the week? Most of the teams say they just play ARAMs and don't actually practice.
Connor, you want to take that one?
We played one scrim.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's more than most.
A little bit of flex. Few ARMs, you know.
You know, gotta keep yourselves loose. Gotta keep the mental out.
Yep.
Just team bonding, really.
Team.
At the end of the day.
Listen,
At the end of the day, that's all it is,
what's
you know.
important. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
that's so important.
Lots of
Like
sleeping
all
on
the
Mike
good
this vibe.
championship teams. Yeah. I feel like in championship, all the good teams end up like kind of just having good team chemistry and good team bonding and knowing each other
exactly.
well. I
Team,
feel like that's
team movie
often,
night.
yeah. It's sometimes it's not just like having like the strongest, highest elo players. Like, does your team generally like each other? Do you guys like playing League together? Like, I think that's always important. Whenever
Oh, yeah.
I had my
Big deal.
championship
Yeah,
run,
definitely.
the team that I was most successful was with the team that liked each other the most.
Yep.
So I think that
With
is.
the power of friendship, all things are possible.
Yeah.
Alrighty, everybody. I believe that does it here for our stream tonight. Ito, I know you just came in. Thank you for having me back on the broadcast once again. I'm sorry I abandoned you for a month. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, so that is our final. That means all games. I'm making sure there are no reschedules. That is true. Every single person has played all 700 matches, so that means that the regular season is officially concluded. And I'm just looking at the rankings right now, and hilariously enough, the very unlikely outcomes we had tonight were the perfect outcomes for me as an organizer, because
There's
it made
no
it so that they're
tiebreakers.
exactly. Oh, I'm so happy.
That
Oh,
was for you. That was for you.
I think last night I was saying, oh
Yeah,
no,
we were talking about it.
if what I think is gonna happen happens, like okay, like we expect Rams to be predicted game. If that happens, I'm gonna have a headache. The DPS one is like okay, but like if Ishtar had a loss, then they would be at 3. Yes, if Ishtar was at 3 and Trebuchet was at 3 and Fan Club was at 3, then we were gonna have a problem to deal with.
Yes.
But now there is no 3-way ties. There are no tiebreakers. Everything is lined up. We know that DPS will be 1, FG Element 2, Spectre Gaming 3. Those will be the 3 that are locked in. They'll have next weekend off. They'll be in semis. At 4 is Team Ishtar. That means they'll play 9 p.m. next Sunday. Trebuchet is at 5. That means they'll play 6 p.m. next Sunday. Barber's Fan Club at 6. That means they'll play 9 p.m. next Saturday. And we'll be starting off with WC Rams and Predictive Gaming next Saturday at 6 p.m. I hope I said 9.
Yes.
Barber's Fan Club
6.
is at
Barber's
7.
Fan Club's at 9. And WC Rams Predictive Gaming Nemesis at 6 p.m. Yes. Yep.
You got them all right.
Whew.
Well, I believe that'll do it for us. So, for myself, Valberto, RareAdam, In Defiance, who's in here just chilling, Face to the Wind, and Ito, and the rest of the Black Twitch League family, thank you all for spending your night here with us. What a crazy slate of games we had, and it's only going to get even crazier as we head into the gauntlet next week. Have a great night.